The Hanslope Show Podcast. Your village, your podcast. It's all about Hanslope.
Hello and welcome to the July edition of the Hanslope Show Podcast. I'm Trev, and every month, of course, we deliver a podcast for our village where we live. And for those that listen further afield, I know there are many, hello and welcome to maybe a place where you used to live, or, friends and family here as well. We try and cover all sorts, businesses, events, venues. We try and be everywhere around the village. Also, a massive thank you to Hague Property Professionals and Adam and the team there that sponsor the podcast, along with the Hanslope Parish Council. We have a bumper episode. You're going to learn a lot of things on the show. I've learned a lot of things in the last month gathering this episode for you. We have got a new business in Hanslope, a real craftsman. His name is Mark Davis, and he's a bespoke furniture maker and gives you a real insight into what's running a business and a craft and a trade in this day and age, and here in Hanslope as well. Plus, we're going to go a little bit out of the village, about 15 minutes down the road to Stoke Bruerne. Now, Richard is a volunteer for the Canals and River Trust, and he works at Stoke Bruerne on a Tuesday. And he wanted to share the story of what he does, but also what Stoke Bruerne offers us in Hanslope, only a few minutes down the road. So you'll hear the story of Stoke Bruerne, and there's a little twist in the tale about ghosts and the Blitzworth Tunnel. All that to come, but first of all, we must stop by the village hall and talk to this gentleman about a very important event coming up this month.
Yeah, I'm Matt Irvin. I'm one of the co-creators of the Small Space exhibition we have here at the village hall in Hanslope. I say small, it's named after my company name because it builds space models, and the models are smaller than real, so therefore it's small space. And my colleague, Paul Fitzmaurice, actually said, well, why don't we do a show based on it? Oh, all right, OK. So we did, and the trouble is it got tremendously popular. I call it the big small show. And we've run model shows generally, and they are conventional model shows. People bring on their model kits or their built models to display. Now, Small Space got bigger. First of all, of course, full-size stuff came along, like Daleks and things. Usually loads of... You can never have too many Daleks. The Doctor may disagree, but you can never have too many Daleks. I think we've got about 7 or 8 coming on this time. These aren't originals, of course. We only actually built about 6 originals. These are built by fans. They're actually a lot better than the originals. And occasionally, I think we've got some Cybermen coming along. We have a guy, Scott, who dresses up as... does cosplay, costume play, as the third Doctor, that's John Pertwee. In fact, he does a better John Pertwee than John Pertwee. Sorry, John, ever did. So he's coming along. We're not a cosplay type of thing, but if people want to come along in costume, absolutely fine. But we've got other models coming along of recreations of famous spaceships from the movies and TV. People are selling stuff as well. I've also got my colleagues from the BIS, the BIS being the British Interplanetary Society, longest running society as such in the world, and I'm a fellow of that for my sins. And we have a Soyuz simulator. This means actually it's built like the actual Soyuz craft, and the Soyuz, of course, is a Soviet originally, now Russian craft. It's an old craft, but like a lot of Russian things is, basically, if it ain't broke, don't mend it. And it's been updated. It had analog computers originally. It's now got digital computers in it. It's the longest flying spacecraft, or crewed spacecraft. And this simulator allows you to dock a Soyuz, because they're still used to go to the International Space Station. So you can come along and try that out. And my other colleagues in the BIS from the West Midlands, they'll be here with real rocketry. So we have a mix, because we like to say we're space science fiction and fantasy. So the science fiction, we've got the Daleks, we've got the Cybermen, we've got models of loads of craft, a lot of Anderson craft. It's 60 years of Star Trek, would you believe?
Wow.
Yep, so I'm doing a Best in the Solar System award, and it's going to be for the best Star Trek model. I'm going to say it doesn't have to be an Enterprise. There are other models you could do from Star Trek. Yes, and it's also 100 years since the launch of the world's first liquid-fueled rocket by Robert Goddard, a very quiet professor in Massachusetts. and he launched the world's first liquid fuel. Now, I'm saying liquid fuel is against the November the 5th, they're solid fuel rockets, because they've been around since the Chinese. But liquid fuel rocket, much more powerful. And he did the first launch in 1926, March 1926. So it's the 100th anniversary of that, so we celebrate that as well. So you'll have a mix of everything, space, science fiction and fantasy.
Such a lot of work has gone into this, and I imagine that it's everyone, young and old, that come along.
Yes, it is actually on this particular show. Hopefully it's the kids. Drag your parents along, kids. You get in free. If you're under 16 and under, you get in free as long as you've got a paying adult with you as such. So you get a free day out here, and there's a lot of stuff to see. You could easily spend all day here. We have the Canine Cafe. I didn't invent that term, actually. My older fellow trustee, Dr. John Sorrow, did. What do you call it, the Canine Cafe? Oh, OK, John, all right.
It just sounds great.
It just rolls off the tongue. So you can come along. We situate that outside because we have so many people coming in. We have tables outside there. The front car park, if you know the village hall, and if you're from the village, of course you know where the village hall is, the front car park will be fill up with Daleks. There'll be a big marquee with some of the other exhibitors in there. So all the big stuff wandering around will be in the main car park. The side car park will have the Canine Cafe and sit-down facilities. We have got parking. It's called way up the road. So arrive early, otherwise it's got a quarter of a mile walk. It'll be worth it, though.
Be amazing. And this has been running for many, many years, of course, with a lot of hard work.
Yeah, this is number 13. I hope it's not unlucky for some. I've never been superstitious. Touch wood. We missed out 2 because of COVID, but so therefore we've been going, strictly speaking, for 15 years, but this is the 13th one, so small space number 13.
And of course many people, we hope, come from the village, will walk up here, so they don't have to park their car, of course, but of course people come from far and wide. Yeah,
when we first started the general shows, they're generally called Hammocks, Hanslope Modelling Expo, it was for the village. I thought, let's put something on for the village. Now, with the best one in the world, the general modelling shows are probably limited to a few really. We hope the small space is more in favour for the general public as such. Hey, we've got Daleks. But we soon realised that, in fact, people come literally from miles around. I've got a very good friends, Andy and Karen, who come up from Exeter. They drive up, actually they do stay overnight, to help out. They used to have a stand and things. They now help me out now. And I've got other people that I've got to know who come from America. Now, OK, they organise their vacation, around the time. I don't think they specifically come for this. Hey, maybe they do.
Maybe.
And there's one guy I know, he's also American. I think he lives in Berlin. He does driving.
Wow.
He's driven in a few times. So, yes, we have people coming from all over. So, hey, if you're coming from the village, get here early. Otherwise, you may not be able to get in. Now, you'll be able to get in. We never are completely full, but we can get very full.
Sure. And tell us the timings of the event over the weekend.
Right. Well, this is for the 12th of July, so not long to go. We open at 10 a.m. and we officially close at 4. I don't usually put a finishing time on the posters because, hey, we might stay a bit longer. Some of our shows we do finish a bit early because, OK, things slow down in the afternoons. Small Space doesn't. We have finished like 5 and 6 before now. If you want to see some more details, you come to the village hall. There's a poster on our new notice board, and there's a couple around the village as well. Or you can go to our Facebook page, which is Small Space Groups, or Groups Small Space, to the correct way around. And our website is www.hamex.co.uk. That's Hamex. But both the website and the Facebook page point to the other one. So there's no excuse for not finding us.
Well, have a great day. And I imagine that you come along and also you meet like-minded people too and share stories.
Oh, that's what... all our shows are treated as big club meets, you realise. Oh, I haven't seen you since the last one. I mean, I'm not making that up, it's literally it. They do come along. And it's people coming down from Yorkshire to put displays on. Thinking, hey, it's amazing. People say, hey, you can make it bigger if you move somewhere else. I say, well, it wouldn't be small space then because it wouldn't be in the hall. We're about as big as we can possibly get.
Matt, nice to speak to you. I hope it goes really, really well and look forward to coming myself.
Thank you, Trevor.
The Hanslope Show Podcast. Your village, your podcast. It's all about Hanslope.
Thank you, Matt. Have a great show. That's on the 12th of July. Starts at 10 at the Village Hall. Now, very rarely, in fact, I think this is the first time we actually venture outside the village to cover something. But when I was invited along to Stoke Bruerne, I couldn't say no. Firstly, it was a beautiful Sunday morning. And secondly, it was one of my favourite places around where we live. So, Richard, tell us why you've brought me to Stoke Bruerne.
Well, I brought you to Stoke Bruerne, Trevor, because I think probably quite a lot of people do know about Stoke Bruerne, but there again, probably there's quite a lot that don't, and it's only 6 miles from Hanslope, 15 minutes by car, and it's just a fantastic place to spend an hour or two looking at the boats. You know, Stoke Bruerne is a very historic centre. There's a couple of pubs, there's the CRT Museum, and a lovely little cafe as well. So it's very easy just to, you know, particularly on a nice day like today, great way to spend a couple of hours.
Tell us what you do here, because every Tuesday, as you just said to me, this is your office.
Yeah, it is my office. So every Tuesday I come down here. I'm a VLK, which is a volunteer lock keeper. So back in the day, lock keepers were obviously paid when the canals were in their heyday and being used to transport freight around. And now, of course, in the modern day, it's primarily for holiday makers and liveaboards, people that live aboard their boat. Yeah, so we are volunteers and we come down, and most of the lock flights in the UK, a flight meaning, you know, one or more locks close together, Canal and River Trust like to try and get some people down. And we help with water management, we help people that have never used the lock before because they just hired a boat. Like someone's just coming here and just banged the lock actually because he's obviously not quite sure what he's doing.
Okay, yeah, I heard a bit of a bang there. Yeah,
and we help physically with the locks as well. So I'm just about to close a gate.
Yeah, so let's close a gate. I mean, it's a beautiful Sunday morning. We're here, and there are 2 boats now in the lock, and it's the penultimate lock just before the navigation pub actually.
Right, so we're nearly there. I've just got to close the downstream gate, and then once that's done, because we're heading upstream, we're heading north up to Stoke Bruerne. We're at lock 15, which is just one lock down from Stoke Bruerne. Cheers.
There's a flight of 5 locks here, isn't there?
7 actually.
7?
No, it's actually 7. Yeah, the top lock is at Stoke Bruerne, and then there are 7 locks down to bottom lock. It's about 1.2 kilometres in distance. So we've just opened what we call the ground paddles on the top lock, so you might be able to hear the water that's now starting to flood in to fill the lock. So we're just going to sit here for a bit, and then once the lock is about half full, we're going to open there's another set of paddles on the gate. And by paddles, all I mean it's just a device that lifts up a door basically in the lock to allow the water to come in.
They're quite daunting, aren't they, locks?
Do you know
for
what?
people
Yeah, I mean they are a bit scary. I mean I always think people that hire a boat at Weedon, which is just north of us here, they've never, you know, and the other amazing thing is you don't need any licence to do this, you don't need any training. All boat yards will give you some supervision and some training before you leave, but at the end of the day, anyone can hire a 70-foot boat for the first time. And then, so you come out of Weedon, you head south, and the first thing you come to is the Blissworth Tunnel, and you've never been on the canal, and you've got nearly 3,000 metres of tunnel. And then you come to Stoke Bruerne and you've got locks, and you don't know what a lock is or you know what they are, but you don't know how to operate them. So that's one of the reasons, as I said before, why we're here, to help people.
And it's astounding how quickly this fills up with water, this lock.
It's something like 50,000 litres of water, I think, and it doesn't actually take that long. So I'm just going to open now the gate paddle. So that's just going to get a bit more water coming in. So there we are, we've got all 4 paddles open now, and the water is filling up pretty quickly.
And we are steeped in history here because, of course, that number over there says 1879.
Yeah, but it's older than that, a lot older than that. So, I mean, yeah, the history of the canal, it goes back to 1790s. 1790s, they call it the golden age of the canals in England and Wales, and it was like the pinnacle of canal building. So if you can imagine, prior to 1770s, anything that had to be moved around the country, it was either rivers provided some mechanism of getting stuff from the outside, but everything was horse and cart. So horse and cart, you can carry half a tonne, maybe 1 tonne of something between towns and villages on. You can imagine how bad the roads would have been. I mean, they've been awful.
Yeah.
On rickety old carts, and of course the canals came along, and a narrow boat like that, a big one, could hold 50 tons. So it can hold almost 100 times as much potentially than a horse and cart. So what's interesting about the canals, they were all built by private money. It wasn't a government thing. You know, individuals, wealthy landowners, businessmen that wanted to move, you know, their materials around, and people bought shares in them.
Right. And were there tolls? Is that how they also paid?
Absolutely. So because they were private, the whole purpose was to make money.
Yeah.
So there were toll points along the canal where you would have to pay, and they would weigh the boats by clever means, by putting them into a special weigh lock, and they would have to pay, And at their height, like the Grand Union, I mean, boats were running 24 hours a day. And they actually had, you don't see it now, but on this stretch here, they built a second pair of locks all the way down. So just behind us where we're standing now,
I saw it.
This was all the way down. There were another pair of locks.
Because
they had to get more boats through.
Yeah. Thank you.
Cheers, thanks very much. Well, the gates are open. Our 2 boats are just about to depart, I think. So we just need to wait for them to get out the lock, and then we need to shut the gates, close the paddles, and leave it ready for the next person.
So we're going past the Navigation pub.
Well, you've got the boat inn, which is up by Stoke Bruerne, opposite the museum, and on the right, as you say, we've got the Navigation Inn. Both do food, both I think are quite highly rated. And again, it's what a lovely aspect just to sit there and watch. Gongoozling, do you know that's the term?
Gongoozling, yes.
Do you remember that term? So gongoozling is a great word, and it describes the act of members of the public watching boats. So we're now under this bridge here. This used to be the other canal, the other lock that was parallel to Top Lock here.
Oh, okay. So when you come to Stoke Bruerne, you walk through this tunnel.
Well, it's a bridge. It's the road bridge. It's the bridge that goes over. But effectively, this just shows you this was in the heyday. Once they had built the first set of 7 locks, they had so many boats trying to get through that they built another parallel set of locks, which don't exist today. But this is the last remnants of one of them. Then the railways came along and spoilt everything.
That's it.
So one interesting thing about this place, one of the reasons this place grew particularly, so back prior to the Canal Age, it was no more than a collection of like a really small hamlet with a few stone buildings and a pub and a shop and very, very little here. When they built the Grand Union Canal, of which we're on at the moment, it connects Birmingham down to London. So the canal was actually not built as one enterprise. It was built as separate, privately financed canals, one starting in London and one in the Midlands. They kind of worked their way towards where we are now. They got to the Blisworth, what is now Blisworth Tunnel. So we had 2 bits of canal that stopped either side of the hill. They had a first go at building a tunnel in 1792, I think, for about 6 years. Had a real problem with it, and part of the centre bit collapsed. Killed 14 people. Wow. But the canal was being used up this time. They had this problem with it, so they had to carry on using the 2 bits of the canal, Birmingham and London. So what they did as an interim was they built a tramway which started all the way down at Bottom Lock, went all the way up to the tunnel and over and down again.
And that's how they got
So
past
they
it.
had to unload all of the material, get it on this is pony horse-drawn trams, pull it all the way up and over, down to the other side where the canal was built, unload it, or load it back onto the boats that side. So this went on for about a decade.
Wow.
So after the first attempt at the tunnel, they thought, well, actually, should we come up with another idea? Should we build locks? And they had one plan to have 30-odd locks to go up and down over the hill. They thought that was too bad an idea.
Yeah.
So they had another go at building the tunnel in about 1800, I think. And they were successful that time. And then it finally connected in about 1805. During this sort of decade into the run of that, you can imagine all the workmen and the people coming here to unload the boats and reload the boats, and it built up the town. And then there was a mill in the building in the museum on the end. There was a mill there and a big chimney, and there was a basin which isn't there anymore, just behind to the side of the museum, which boats would come in and moor up. And so it was a real bustling.
Really
it would
thriving.
It would have been heaving, absolutely heaving.
And the tunnel, I think I've read myself as well, it's one of the longest in Europe.
It's the third longest navigable waterway in the UK, and it is one of the longest. So it's a bit daunting. And you go into that one and you can just see the pinprick of light at the end. And when you're going through it, it's very hypnotic. It's very mesmerising.
Yes.
To actually, and of course, it's designed for 2 boats. So you stay in the middle as much as you can, but then you do get boats coming the other way, and it's quite interesting to try and sort of shimmy past with very little room either side.
And as we were just talking to somebody back at the last lock, they thought they saw some ghostly sights.
Well, I
have
read something that I think a lot of tunnels, they say that they have sort of ghosts, but she was adamant, wasn't she?
She was,
from her conversation. That some very odd things happened, and there was a light which suddenly wasn't a boat, and
they took a photo too.
Yeah,
and they got something in the photo as well. I'd be quite intrigued to see that.
It would be interesting to see, wouldn't it? But you see, look, all those people gongoozling. Look,
there we go.
Sunday's a great day to come up here because you get loads of families come down, and everyone's interested to. So we've got the boat that we were helping in Lock 15 is now in 14, and everyone's having a good old look at them.
That's it. Actually, the boaties are under pressure, aren't they, all the time, aren't they?
They're also under pressure when you've got lock keepers watching you.
Yes, that's it. Do it correctly.
Do it right.
Yeah,
that's when it goes wrong.
As a reminder, we are only, like you said, 15 minutes down the road from where we live.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's no distance at all.
Richard, so many gongoozlers.
Yes, I know. It's packed, isn't it? It's Sunday, sun comes out and everybody's here.
It's really lovely. And those 2 boats we saw down at Lock 15 are now going through past the museum and past the boat in, which we're nearly at. But tell us about a very... Now, I've been here many times.
Yeah.
I've never really spotted this house.
You wouldn't notice it, would you? No. So just on the left-hand edge of the boat in at the top, there is this sort of little... There's a white door and it's a little brick building. It's like a little shed added onto the side of the pub. And it's called the Legger's Hut. And legging, if you didn't know, prior to boats having engines and steam tugs to get them through, you go through Blissworth Tunnel. There's no footpath through the tunnel, so your horse couldn't go through and carry on, because of course we forget, don't we, canals were all horse pulled boats. So towpath is called a towpath because the horses were towing the boats.
That's it.
So how do you get your boat that has no engine through the tunnel and your horse has to go over the top? Well, you have to leg. So I think they had a board, like a plank that would go across the boat, and then 2 men would lie on their backs and they would, with their feet, walk across the ceiling to push the boat. 3 kilometres.
Wow.
Big boat. And this little hut here is where the men who did this job would wait. So they would basically sit in here, this tiny little room with a little fire, which must have been freezing in winter, and they would wait for their fare, effectively. So any boat coming up had to get 2 of these guys to help them. I mean, they must have been fit.
They must have been exhausted too.
Oh, they must have been tired.
Yeah. But like you said, it was a way to earn some money, and they sat in
absolutely,
there.
Yeah.
Like a golf caddy would wait for a person to come and carry your bag.
And apparently, I didn't realise. I assumed that people at Stoke Bruerne would do this. You would go through the tunnel, then you think you would pick a fare and come back, didn't you? Yeah. But apparently there was a different set of people that went the other direction.
Oh, really? Okay.
So they would go one way, and I guess they then have to walk back and then wait for the next one. So not only did they have to do the legging, they had to walk all the way back, more than 3 kilometres.
Wow.
To come back here and then do the next one. And then I don't know how many times a day they could do it.
But as you said, though, when it was busy, then I imagine they were...
They would have been going all the time, wouldn't they?
Yeah. And this, like I said, I would never have noticed it. And it's like a little Wendy house with a chimney on top.
It's about 8 feet, isn't it? 8 feet long, do you think?
And this now is used. You guys use this.
So this is it's owned by Canals and River Trust, and it's the little storeroom where the lock keepers, where we keep our equipment and the radios and the safety gear and stuff, and where we sign in the morning.
So I'm Sarah, I'm lead volunteer for events at Stoke Bruerne. I'm also an ambassador volunteer for the Cafe and Museum.
So tell us what goes on here, Sarah, because it's a beautiful place.
Well, an awful lot goes on here. So we've got a museum which has loads of artefacts about the canals and the heritage of the canals, the people that lived in Stoke Bruerne that were related to the canals. So we've got 2 floors of museum. We've got a very thriving cafe which serves hot food and drinks throughout the day. And then we've got a programme of events that go all the way through the summer. So we tend to run one event a month, usually out on the green. We've got, coming up in the months to come, we've got a Crafts on the Canal event where we will be demonstrating some traditional and some new crafts and let people having a go at that. And later in the year we've got a Pirates Day. So we have some fabulous live musicians, all local, who play on the green outside. All dressed as pirates, and we play some pirate games and name the pirate and all manner of silly games for the day. So that's great fun. And we also throughout the year do an Easter and Halloween treasure trail.
And as you walk past the cafe and the museum here, there's a poster outside that says how many things are going on. I was blown away by how many things are happening this summer.
Yep, so we've probably got one. We try to do one event a month. So yes, we've also got Paws and Wings coming up in August, which is celebrating things that fly and things that crawl all around the canals. And we've got a number of charities coming to actually support us with that event. So there's always lots going on through the summer, and it's all free. That's the main thing.
That's incredible.
It's all free.
How do you do it?
We do it with an awful lot of volunteers' help.
You have people from far and wide come and visit the museum. You were saying to me just a minute ago that some people from Wimbledon came up yesterday, but also as well locally too. There's many reasons to come here again and again and again.
Absolutely, yes. I mean, there's always something to see, and the nice thing about the canal is it changes with the seasons. So a walk along the canal looks very, very different in the middle of winter than it does in the summer.
Now let's talk about the museum, because the museum, obviously right on the canal, overlooking the canal. This is steeped in history, this building, very apt for it to be a museum.
It's very apt for it to be a museum. And I mean, it was started in 1963 by a gentleman called Jack James, who was a working boat number one. He actually worked his own boat and then decided to come ashore. And so he became a lockkeeper in his latter years. He was a lockkeeper on the locks here. He was awarded 2 or 3 times for maintaining the best looking lock on the canal. He was extremely proud of his lock, and he had a collection of artefacts, which was his own personal collection. And he started off by showing it and exhibiting them in what was the Leggers hut, which is now used by our volunteer lockkeepers as their base. And he used to display these bits and pieces in there. And then together with a chap called Charles Hadlow, he decided that maybe that would be nice to put them into a museum. This building at the time was derelict and had been derelict for quite a long time. And so they managed to negotiate to get it back up and running, and their own personal collection was added into it in 1963. And they ran it as curator and caretaker for quite a number of years until they retired.
What's your fascinating fact about the waterways or Stoke Bruerne or the museum? What's the one thing that you have up your sleeve that you always tell people that this is why I'm here? Or
I get drawn to the canals. We have our own boat, and we just get drawn to canals wherever we go. Even if we're not on our boat, even when we're travelling around the country by car, we always hunt out a canal. There's something about the canals that just keep drawing us back to them. And as you're driving along the road, if you go over a bridge, we just automatically look over the edge to see if it is a canal or a railway line or something. I don't know why, but we just get drawn to them. I just think it's certainly a lovely way of life. It's very leisurely. It's very slow. So everything slows down. And we used to live by the sea, and people, when we moved up this way, people said to us, "Oh, you're going to miss the sea." I wouldn't swap it for a while. I'd rather have a canal than the sea any day.
It is a beautiful part of the world, and right on our doorstep where we live in Hanslope. And so, like you said, the museum is free.
The museum is free.
Yeah.
Yep, we obviously accept donations, and we're very welcome to. So yes, I mean, it takes quite a lot to run a building like this, but yes, it is free. So we want to make sure that we can actually share these artefacts and the history of the canal with as many people as we can. So we want to try and make it as accessible as we can.
My name's Paul. I'm the captain of the trip boat Charlie at Stoke Bruerne.
Wonderful. And how many years have you been doing this, Paul?
I've been crewing the boat now for 13 years, and this is my second year as captain.
When do you go out on Charlie's boats? How many days a week?
We offer our boat trips on weekends and school holidays and bank holiday Mondays.
I think my kids have been on this boat actually as part of the Cub and Scout movement. I imagine you get quite a few groups coming along as well.
Yes, we do. We do offer private trips for schools, Cub Scouts, and all the social groups, as it was, Girl Guides, hen parties. We can offer those trips in the weekdays when we're not running on the public trips.
And where do you go from to? Obviously, we're here in Stoke Bruerne. Where do we travel to?
Right, well, we operate from outside the Canal Museum at Stoke Bruerne, and our basic trip that we offer the general public is 25 minutes long, approximately. And we set off from the museum at Stoke Bruerne and go up the canal to the Blisworth Tunnel, show you what the Blisworth Tunnel is like, and then bring you back to the museum.
Now, I've heard along my journey today here at Stoke Bruerne that there is some ghostly sightings in Blisworth Tunnel. Am I right in thinking that, Paul?
It's said that the tunnel is haunted. I've experienced my fair share of interesting activities in the tunnel, not regarding boats. I do mean sort of slight paranormal activity. It's got a lot of history there.
It certainly has, and it's a vital part, of course, of the Grand Union, isn't it?
Yes, the Blisworth Tunnel is very important to the Grand Union Canal as it keeps the canal joined. It was the last piece in the puzzle to join the Grand Union Canal up. It arrived at Stoke Bruerne, the canal arrived at Blisworth, and a great big hill there, so the tunnel had to be built. If the tunnel isn't there, then it's a very long journey to Oxford or to Northampton, because you have to take the River Nen or come up the Oxford Canal, so it's a very important part of the GU.
And it seems like you love your job, Paul. You've got a great job. It's very relaxing, isn't it?
It's a good job. I think it's probably the longest raining job I've ever done. I do like being outdoors and being on the water. It's lovely, and meeting lovely faces and new people. Very good. And educating them and sharing my knowledge of the canal and the history. I do enjoy it.
The Hanslope Show Podcast. It's all about Hanslope.
It's on our doorstep, and it's only 15 minutes away, and on a glorious Sunday morning, really would recommend heading up to Stoke Bruerne, having a little breakfast outside the ship in there, or the navigation, and then, of course, just watching or gongoozling the boats going by. Now, thanks to Richard, of course, also a massive thanks to Captain Paul and Sarah at the museum. They did a fantastic job of telling us and filling us in on what happens at Stoke Bruerne. Now, during that recording, I must just tell you, we bumped into one of the boats going through the lock, and we spoke to a lady on the other side of the canal. The audio, that's why it's a little bit quiet, but it's well worth sharing with you because they have their own experience to share about going through that very long tunnel.
Did you?
We saw the light when we first went in. We thought it was a boat coming. Genuinely thought there was another boat down there. And then the light went off and never came back on again. And then we both had, they've got a weird photo.
Oh, really?
Yeah, my friend, she was taking pictures as we went into the tunnel. And genuinely there's like a person on it.
Yes.
It wasn't his camera took a photo on its own at the exact same time.
How weird.
And it's weird, it's got the same weird lights on it. I'm terrified of things like that. There's something in that photo that wasn't there. I was in the shower, like, they were like, oh, Jerry was there. I was like, no, I wasn't even in the same room. She was in that, she was out on the front of the boat on her own. And then anyone that you said it to, they're like, yeah. Have you ever seen anything in there?
I haven't, no. I've been through it a couple of times. I haven't seen anything.
The thing is, we genuinely thought there was a headlamp on another boat coming, like,
Yeah.
right down the very end. And then it turned off. It wasn't the light at the end of the tunnel.
Adding to the mystery and intrigue of the Blisworth Tunnel. You make your own mind up. Now, let's move on to cover businesses here in Hanslope. And if you're a local business or know somebody that runs a company, then please get in touch. We'd love to cover your whatever you do here in the village. And you're about to hear from somebody who recently arrived here from Stony Stratford. Let's go to Cookill Hill Farm.
The Hanslope Show Podcast. Your village, your podcast. It's all about Hanslope.
Here we are in Cookill Hill Farm. Mark Davis, good afternoon.
Hi there, how you doing?
I'm very well. This is a lovely setup you got here.
Thank you.
Unit number
29.
29. And Mark Davis Bespoke Interiors Limited, handcrafted bespoke furniture.
Correct.
So you're relatively new to Hanslope.
Yes.
Tell us about your journey to Hanslope.
Started way back kind of 13 years ago, moved into Stoney, we were there, we got really established. Unfortunately, that property had to be redeveloped, it's a heritage area. So the option came to move just up the road to Hanslope. I think we've now been here about 4 weeks, so it's all still very new, still learning the area.
It actually looks like you've been here about 4 years, actually. It looks like you're really well settled in.
It's been a couple of very hard weeks, I'm not going to lie, but thankfully, because we were so well established in Stoney, it's, as much as it is kind of, it's a blank canvas, we had to move in and start again. We had everything, so everything was just in storage while we did the move.
So you have, I think you were saying 13 years, been doing this for 13 years?
Yeah, so fully trading for 15 years, but it was 13 years we were in Stoney Stratford, which was absolutely brilliant. You know, it was a great space. It was a heritage, so it was a little bit kind of rough around the edges. It was a great place to start and grow a business. Over the years, I think I've employed 9 people, so it's always nice to give a bit of employment to the area. But I always loved being in the space, being in the town, and kind of embedding myself within the community as much as possible. For a good 2-3 months, there was a serious risk of actually having to leave Milton Keynes. And that was the thing that really hurt me. I started my business here, I built my business here, I've won awards for my business here, and I have countless great clients here. So at one point, genuinely, I was looking at Bedford, Leighton Buzzard, Northampton.
Because Milton Keynes is very expensive to hire units such as this.
It is, yeah. There's genuinely no getting away from it. Thankfully, this one came up. I am aware that the units on this location, there is a waiting list, and it's a long waiting list. Thankfully, the agent that manages this facility, she had actually shown me, I think it was maybe 7 other units, just trying to get me into somewhere local. Unfortunately, they had conditions that meant they weren't appropriate. So actually, I think the previous tenant of this unit literally handed their notice in, and I think it was within like half an hour, she'd phoned me and said, there's quite a few people that want to look at this, but, you know...
So you race down.
Get down here, sort of thing. And I literally came down that afternoon, looked at it. The next morning, we did everything, and it was done.
What did you know about Hanslope before you came here?
Nothing. No, I have friends that go to the church here, which is lovely. So I have been to a wedding and multiple christenings there.
Yeah.
So, but other than it's a nice village outside Milton Keynes, I simply didn't know a huge amount about it.
And what do you know now? Having spent a very short time here, 4 weeks here, what do you know now?
Not a huge amount. I've been very busy. But I do know that there's a nice selection of pubs and a really good sandwich shop.
That's it. That's all you need. That's all you need.
It's right, yeah.
But you had an open event here, didn't you, recently? That you invited, that sort of opened your eyes into, wow, you know what? It went very well, I hear.
It was wonderful. And when you create these events and you think, we're going to have this big opening, what are we going to do? How are we going to make it special? You create your invitation list and you kind of hope people show up. Honestly, I was blown away by, in the grand scheme, let's be honest, who wants to come to the opening of a workshop? Really, come look at some dust and some machines. But I think we had about 35 people all come along, and just everyone showed up. Everyone was so enthusiastic and passionate just to see, because the move was a little bit dramatic and, complicated. It was wonderful to see those local councillors, politicians and people in the business community come along to support the opening and, frankly, just share a glass of fizz.
Yeah.
I'm a very proud Welshman, so I made homemade Welsh cakes, and it was very much come along. It wasn't just an opening. It very much was, I wanted to formally start this new chapter in Hanslope, but also I wanted to kind of say thank you to those people that had supported me along that route.
We have a very vibrant business community here in Hanslope, actually, for a small village. But here we are at Cuckoo Hill Farm, and there's many businesses, and diverse too, aren't there?
Yes, very much so. I've already kind of gone around and said hi to a few of the ones on, like, the ones that kind of are next to me. I still need to get over to the other side and chat to a couple of them. But I also know companies that are on the estates, kind of on the other side of Hanslope, and it's quite incredible, actually. it's not a huge place.
No.
So the amount of businesses that are based here, whether that be in the units on both the north and south side, or people that are working from home. So it is quite incredible how many companies kind of can put their hand up and say, look, we're Hanslope.
Yeah, and that's why whenever I try and do anything to the house, for example, I try and keep it local in terms of the builders that we've used. And before your time, the guy called Steve Wells, he's retired now, carpenter.
Okay.
But he made a lovely seat for us in our bay window.
Wonderful.
Years ago, he used rosewood, I think it was, and it was a really proper job. And that's when I thought, you know what, keep it local.
It's something I wish more people would do, and it's definitely something that I am proud of. When I'm the same, I always try to use the local, supply network that you have. It's great to use the big companies because they have their own benefits. But I always kind of say, if you use the company down the road and you pay him £50, that doesn't go off to some big, shareholder. That he's probably just going to use that to pay for his daughter to go to dance classes in the same location. It's not just about money, it's about culture, environment. It's about creating that local space that when you invest in that space, that person normally invests back into it.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, everyone's doing really well. Everyone's happy. Everyone's supporting everyone. And you're kind of like, oh, wow, there's so much stuff here, and you can support each other.
Yeah, it's that microclimate of business, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's what you're creating.
Yeah, if you sit there and think, oh, what do you need to run a household and operate? Genuinely, I don't think, from where we are now in Hanslope, I don't think you'd have to do more than 10 miles to get to 90% of what you need.
Yeah.
And I just wish more people would look close before looking far away.
Yes, good advice. So what do you do? Bespoke furniture, I see the list on the outside of the unit there, of wardrobes to office furniture. It looks diverse.
So I always say I design and manufacture all aspects of bespoke furniture. So kitchens, bedrooms, wine cellars, studies, media walls. We've recently, just down the road, done a wine cellar that went under the stairs in Castlethorpe. All aspects of bespoke furniture. We do some commercial work. So again, Milton Keynes has a wonderful selection of businesses that are there, and some of them are really good about working with the local community. So we even got to do the head office for Skoda and VW commercial vehicles, which was wonderful. And then we've done some big projects for Marshall's amplification. But I was going to say 80% of our work, and where my heart always lies, is domestic furniture. So you talked about window seats. Yes, if you have a bay window, I can create you a beautiful curved window seat. If you need those fitted wardrobes, that nice TV cabinet, that's all the sort of work I do.
You have been far and wide in your work too. You not only, tell us a little bit about how far you've been and how far the word of your name has spread.
I always try is the big word, to stay as local as possible. I would love to be able to just work completely locally. But the draw of London is a big thing. So, you're always going to end up working down there quite a bit. And then I have a few clients that perhaps they have second homes in the Cotswolds, in Slough. So again, you end up working for those properties. The furthest away is Mallorca. We had, oddly enough, it was a local family that lived in Milton Keynes. They decided to build a very significant property over in Mallorca. And when it came to furnishing it and kind of doing all that fit-out stuff, they actually decided to use all local companies. So that was quite interesting. Obviously, we flew over, did all the site surveys. Then we came back to Milton Keynes. We did all the manufacturing. Then everything got packed up into lorries. Went down to the coast, got on a ferry, then it went to Barcelona, went over, and then we flew out to do all the installs. And I think it must have been a good kind of 5 months back and forth flying to Mallorca to do the install. But
what
again,
an experience.
It was wonderful. And again, everything like that has its ups and downs. Anyone that says working away is fun is lying. The simple fact is you're sleeping in a hotel for weeks and working round the clock. But it's a great experience. And it really kind of shows you all aspects of the industry, which is wonderful because you get to see, that lifestyle. I think it's just great to experience things. And that was a wonderful experience. which I don't do anymore.
That's it. So what wood do you like to work with? Is it all sorts? Is it?
I would always say that I do like to keep it. We can all be very romantic and say, oh, everything should be English oak and English beech. Simple fact is they're not sustainable. So actually you are sometimes hurting local stocks by using lots of them. So I try to use a lot of European timbers. All the oak we use is from Europe, or the walnut. Well, some of the walnut we use is Europe, some of it's from America. I try to stay away from the exotics. If a client very, very specifically wants a very specific timber that happens to be an exotic, say from Africa or South America, yes, we can use them, as long as they're legally available. I always try to use veneers in those situations because you're able to simply get a lot more out of each tree. Ideally, I would always use European timbers.
And we've got this skill in our village now.
Yes.
And it seems like we're blessed to have it. And so what do you personally like doing? What's your favourite project that you've worked on?
There is one thing that we do, and we probably do this, let's say, once a year. I don't do a lot of them, but we do one a year because we've got a little bit of a reputation in this, and that's doing fish tanks.
Fish tanks?
Yes. Sounds a little mad. I love doing wine cellars. I love doing kitchens. Wardrobes are wonderful. And I genuinely love doing a really nice living room set. I really, really do enjoy that because it's a place where the family come together and relax. So a really nice TV cabinet, some really nice shelving, maybe some nice lighting. It looks great, and I know it will be used and loved by the client, which is really important. I happen to really like fish. Okay. I like to dive. I like to be around them. And there's a few aquatics companies that get me involved to do the cabinetry around fish tanks.
Right, okay.
When I say fish tanks, we're talking a fish tank big enough that if you wanted to, you could swim in it.
Okay, right, that's okay. So a swimming pool, essentially, then.
Yeah, basically. We are talking about some very, very large installations. They're great. They're really fun because they're a little bit silly, a little bit bonkers, and you're just having to play around with some real random things. Yeah. So they're always a right laugh to be involved in.
I love that.
As you can imagine, you can't really build your business around building things like that because they are incredibly expensive. Yeah. But living room suites.
So budget then. You tell us. Obviously, sounds like a high-end bespoke furniture that you make. Is that what you do across the board in terms of working on high-end budgets, or what are people?
I always say that I never adjust the quality of the product. We design nice high-end furniture. Is it also good value for money? Yes. Because every penny that you spend with me goes to me and the furniture. Yeah. It's not like some of the big shops, and I don't ever like to speak badly of those big shops. But the simple fact is, when you go to buy a piece of furniture from somewhere like IKEA, wonderful company, their design team are fantastic. But when you buy from them, that big shop needs to be paid for. Yeah. Those adverts need to be paid for. All of the above needs to be paid for. So therefore, when you get down to how much of that money actually went into that piece of furniture, simple fact is a very small amount.
Yeah.
Whereas I would say when you come to me, yes, I have my life, the workshop and everything to pay for, but everything else, it's all in the furniture. So that is in the quality of the hardware, in the quality of the timber, in the quality of design. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I'll take on a project and it's not just a case of, what do you want? There's your square box, have that. It's a consultation period. It's not just about what you want it to look like. It's how do you want to interact with that piece of furniture? Mm-hmm. Do you want to sit down? Do you want somewhere to put your mug? Okay, brilliant. How big's the sofa? What's the arm height? Let's get the ergonomics right. And it's a process. And sometimes that process can take longer than others. Sure. But that is the process. Yeah. You don't get everything just straight right out of the box. I just think it's really important, if you're going to go to the effort and cost of a bespoke piece of furniture, let's get it right. Yeah. Let's make that piece of furniture something that, yes, it will outlast the person who pays for it, but let's make sure that person loves it for the entire time they have it.
We only have that one piece of bespoke furniture in our house, and I love that bench seat, that window seat, and it looks, it's quality. You can just tell that someone put love and care into it, and
that's what it is. When you're dealing with an independent craftsman, it's not a massive company, so therefore that person, wants to know, how are you going to look after it? How are you going to treat it? How are you going to engage with it? And then if we can get all of those steps right, that's when something really special happens, because that's when you have that piece of furniture that, 20, 30 years time, you sat there thinking, instead of chucking it out, let's get the top repolished. Yeah. Let's keep it. Let's have another life out of it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you. And,
thank you very much.
Let's bring it back to Hanslope and to local.
Sure.
You mentioned before about employing people at Stoney over the years. Is that something that you'd want to do here?
100%.
Yeah.
In order to grow as a business, you have to be thinking about how do you expand, and that doesn't just mean bigger. But in order to create furniture, you simply need more hands.
Yeah.
One pair of hands can only create so much. I'm a real believer in getting people early and trying to create that foundation education. I have spoken to our local Milton Keynes College. In the past, all of my apprentices have come from Malton College in Northampton. That is simply because that's where I did my apprenticeship.
Yeah.
I have talked with Milton Keynes College and seen that there's a potential relationship there to move forward. All industries are different, but mine, it does require people to get in early doors.
Yeah.
There's a lot to be learnt in those first few years. You fundamentally need to be cheap. Having somebody who is producing minimum wages, as you get older, that person becomes more expensive.
Yeah.
And you're in years of training. So it's really important to get them while they're young.
Yeah.
Because then you don't need to worry about how financially efficient is that person. So therefore, you can actually give that person a little bit of space and allow them to learn. We can all learn everything, essentially, but it takes time. And if you are more expensive, then there are greater pressures on a company. So if you get them while they're young, they're a little bit cheaper, you can kind of just go, do you know what, today you're just going to go and play with some hand tools and some bits of timber, go away. Because they're young, you can have that freedom. So yeah, 100%, my plan is, I've had apprentices in the past, it is completely my plan to have another one.
And if a mum and dad are listening and their son or daughter have shown they've got a skill,
yes,
a potential skill, what piece of advice would you say to those young, budding Mark Davises out there?
I think some young people nowadays think everything's just going to happen overnight. Be patient. If you are really genuinely interested in woodwork, I will sit down and talk with anyone, because I will gladly encourage them, or I might have a bit of a chat and go, I'll be honest, this isn't for you. But be patient. Be ready to make those mistakes, because you will make so many mistakes, it is unbelievable. But if you're in a location, in a situation where you can have that freedom to make a few mistakes and grow and develop, it's great.
Yeah.
And that's how you become great at any industry.
Knowing a couple of people that work in a craft like you do, it is a terrific career and you get so much out of it. And the joy that you have creating pieces of art essentially for people's houses. Do
you know what? It's a really, really complicated business, because it's one of those lovely businesses that if you were doing it to make money, you're wrong. You need to be passionate. You need to love the industry. But if you can find that passion, if you can find that link, it's so rewarding, because I have clients walk into the workshop and they just sat there thinking, we've got an idea, what can we do? I can then design something and create those drawings off their imagination. And suddenly they're like, oh, hang on, this could be something interesting. Then they come back 6 weeks later, perhaps where we're halfway through the build, and I've had clients walk into a workshop and genuinely been speechless, because they're sat there, because of their specific nature, they don't have the ability to be very visual. So they've managed to kind of, club together a few notes of ideas, and I can take that and bring it to life.
Yeah.
And it's the look on that client's face when they walk in and they're just like, oh my God, did not know it could be so good. It's so rewarding.
Well, it's yeah, and I can see the joy in your face too. And so can we find you online? Can we have a look on? Yeah.
Facebook and Instagram are the best ones. Instagram is MD Bespoke Interiors. I always say, go on there, have a look. I post daily, and you can kind of see everything we're working on. And it's not all just big, fancy, lovely new piece of furniture. It could just be the serving boards that we make, or it could just be me having a good tidy up in a workshop. I do try to show everything about running a cabinet shop.
The Hanslope Show Podcast.
Thanks to Mark Davis for a wonderful chat about a new business here in Hanslope, and of course to Matt at the Small Space exhibition happening at the Village Hall on the 12th of July. And a huge thanks as well for my day trip to Stoke Bruerne, organised by Richard, and we met Sarah and Captain Paul. Please spread the word about the Hanslope Show podcast. I love putting this together and finding out more about our village, and long may it continue. If you've got any stories, then of course we'd love to know about it. Now my email address is trevor@thisismyfilm.com, or just message me on Facebook here in the village and we'll get to you and share your story. Keep spreading the word of the Hanslope Show podcast. More next time.